Hey, we're gonna try this again because last class was a frightening fail. So we're looking at Thursday, December 6th. Fingers crossed we get through the class without major issues. See, this is my regular one. We're gonna do Shadow Club talky stuff. Those of you who have not read past where we ever stopped last time, we're gonna get you all caught up so you know what's going on from there. Novel homework is due tomorrow. We're gonna talk about that in a second. The early book report, the last day to turn it in is tomorrow. You have 1 day left to do it. Toys for Tots, you can bring in toys and donate them for Tots. I think the way it works is if you bring a toy, they give you a free child. And so those are for B points. Every toy that you bring in will give you 1 small child and 2 to 5 B points, up to a maximum of 20 B points to help other people for the whole holidays things, and then still taking caps. Yes, sir.
Did you get a haircut?
No, it just styled itself differently for some reason today. I wish it was my control. My hair has a mind of its own. I woke up today and my hair said, I'm going to be a 19th century banker. And I'm like, okay. And just like went, pew. I'm like, please go up, please go up. It's like, no. And so tomorrow, maybe I'm going to be a shark again. Whatever, hair. I'm just like, do your thing, hair. So it's just a thing that happens. Seth.
It's from the book report. These are like 2 different pictures or 2 like the same picture?
So once again, as far as the book report goes, to help you out, 1, there's giant examples right over there that you could choose to look at. My first thing to say I'm going to use to help you is read the directions, because some of the stuff I've been telling you out loud in class is what scientists call a lie. Because I've realized I can lie as much as I want, and you guys are too lazy to look things up. I did a scientific experiment called a quiz, where all you had to do was look up answers right in front of you, and many of you were too lazy to do it. So I figured, why not have fun? When it comes to things like the book report and stuff like that, I just make up random stuff. And I figure if you're too lazy to go look it up, it makes life more fun. If you want to find out what you're supposed to do for the book report, you should probably, go read the directions. Or, if you do everything I say, you will be covered. I definitely do not tell you less than what you're supposed to do. I just do a lot of other random stuff too to torture kids who are too lazy to look stuff up. Questions from there? Do I have to look up the directions? Nope! You just make up stuff as you go along, and I wish you the best of luck. Nielsen!
Can I directions and get some sushi at the end of class?
Yes and yes. Tyler!
Can I look at something on your website on my iPad real quick?
Is it the directions?
Yeah.
Sure. And once again, the checkpoints. We're going to start reading page 74 today. In just a moment, we're going to talk about what happened into it and then get a chance to go finish the rest of the pranks that popped up. Our next checkpoint is going to be page 130. We'll try to get you somewhat close-ish, but again, I'm going to make you read part of the book on your own. And 2, the quiz next week is going to be mostly over the part of the book you have to read on your own, or for some of you, the 1 page that you read on your own. And then the homework that is due tomorrow. Once again, this one I gave you guys last week, and the 4 different things that go along with it. The new one is option 3, the character descriptions, where you can just tell me the things you highlighted and how they connect to people. Those of you who would like to do extra B-point stuff, you can do extra options. Each extra option gets you B points. Each one gets you 3 extra B points if you choose to do it. Or you can choose a Simpson sheet. I was just trying to make things a little bit easier on you. Seriously. It's so overrated. Any other questions aside from there's directions? Yeah. Then let's talk about Shadow Club and kids making poor choices and trying to drink snakes. Let's see, from where we left off with you guys last time, we had Austin making fun of Jared and gave him a nickname. What nickname does he give him?
Gopher.
Gopher. What is Gopher? Well, back up. Why does he call him Gopher? Not because he's slow.
He gets stuff.
He gets stuff for him. And the whole thing is like, you have to go for this and go for that, and starts making fun of him. And then Jared does not want to make the Shadow Club until Austin helps convince him. And how does Austin help convince him?
He beats him in a race and then makes fun of him.
That's the big part. Not just the beating him in the race, but after he beats him in the race, has the entire crowd circle around Jared while chanting, "Gopher, Gopher," and they all taunt him and are horrible, mean, jerky, evil people to him. And he goes, you know what? We should go and torture them. So they decide to head out to Stonehenge and recruit people for their Shadow Club. And they go out and find other people who are also other kids who have people who are being mean to them. And this is our Shadow Club list. The first 3 we know. Jared, Cheryl, Randall. The next 4 are the brand new ones we've added in. With Jared, who is it that Jared hates?
Austin.
Or Lost in Space.
Nicely, or Lost in Space. And what is he better at him than doing?
Running.
Nicely done. And Cheryl, who does she hate?
Rebecca.
And what is Rebecca better at?
Singing.
Randall?
Drew.
Nicely done. I think I have to remember his name. And then what is Drew better at?
Swimming.
And then the next 4 are brand new characters. If you don't remember the kids they hate, that's fine. I sometimes have to look it up also. That's why there's a book right there. On any chance you guys know who Jason hates?
Another kid that's better at trombone.
That is correct. I think it's a trumpet.
Trumpet, yeah.
Yeah, making sure I had the right. Because I have a picture coming up in a moment. I was like, I put a picture of a trumpet up there. And he hates a kid named David Berger. And the reason I remember David Berger's name is because you eat a burger with your mouth and you play a trumpet with your mouth. For some reason, it stuck in my head. But he is the #1 chair. That not only is he the #1 chair in trumpet, but he makes Jason feel awful and makes fun of him all the time. And then we get to Abby Singer, which I thought was my favorite because of what she's #2 at.
Popularity.
She is the second most hot girl in the school. And so there's another girl who is hotter than her, which is a girl named Vera Donaldson. But just being hotter is not bad enough. It's the fact that Vera waits until Abby gets a boyfriend, and then Vera asks him out just so that she can break up with him and then bad talk Abby. And so she does try to be a whole big jerk about it. Oh, there's probably a different word you used to call her. Karen Han does not go by Karen because she has a nickname given to her by her bully. Instead of Gopher, what's she called?
OP.
And what does OP stand for?
1 point.
Not overpowered, which I thought always knew when I see it. But the fact of OP means 1 point because Tommy Nichols always beats her by 1 point on tests and then harasses her and makes fun of her and stuff like that because she's not as intelligent. And the last one is Darren Collins and
Eric.
Nicely done. Eric Kilfoyle, and what is it they do?
Basketball.
And so Eric Kilfoyle is better at basketball and then taunts him nonstop. Then once they have their club, they go, what are we going to do? They go, let's find ways to torture kids. And they start coming up with all kinds of pranky things. The first pranky thing involves Rebecca's thermos. And so they decide to be mean to her first. And what do they put into Rebecca's thermos?
A snake.
And they sneak a snake. Sneaky snake. They sneak a snake into her thermos. I was pretty happy with my picture. Now, 1, I have no idea how they got a snake into the thermos. 2, how do you get a snake into a thermos and not have it die of suffocation while it's in there? But they do, and she pulls it out like in the middle of lunch, and they all freak out and yell and scream and fun stuff like that. And then let's see, then we got to David Berger with his trumpet. And what do they do with him? They pour slime. Once again, I'm not sure how it defies physics. Maybe it's really sticky slime. But trumpets usually sit with like the coney bit facing down. And they say it was like sitting there and they poured the slime in and they put it back down. Like wouldn't the slime just come out? But he picks up the trumpet and when he blows on it, he's like, and it sprays slime over everyone that's up there. I know, I was really excited. I found that picture. I Googled spraying slime and I was like, done! I just had to put a trumpet in front of it. And so spraying slime all over everybody, and they all make fun of him because that's what you do when someone sprays you with slime. And then poor, evil, popular girl, Vera, they steal something of hers using her little brother. Diary. Which would be bad enough, but they find out good information in the diary. What do they find out in the diary?
She likes a dork kid.
She's a 9th grader, and she has a crush on an 8th grader. But not only does she have a crush on a younger kid, but it's a dorky younger kid, and he's like a really tiny midget younger kid. And of course, she talks about how adorable he is. She's like, he's so dreamy, and gives like all these like dreamy things like that. So, being the horrible people they do, what do they do with her diary?
Posted on the news.
Being a teacher, I don't know how that's going to work if you're to walk around school like, oh look, there's pictures of a kid's diary. All those kids are making fun of her. Nope, I'll just leave them on the wall. And you just walk away, but I'm guessing in there the teachers are really awful. Just like our school. Oh, you horrible children. So now, we're to the part where we're going to get a chance to read page 74, and we're going to start getting a chance to torture the rest of them. Because now, they're going to come up with pranks for every single last one. On page 74.
I'm on page 80.
Stop showing off.
Sorry.
Oh, you show off. If you want to tune me out, that's fine with me. Now that we've gone through my little introductory bits. So now I'll put that screen back up there. We're going to start finding out about all the other kids they're going to torture. I'm going to start at the little splitty bit. There's a little splitty bit. So that's the part where I go down there. The next trick, by far, was the most dangerous. I was there because It was my turn to pull a prank. Cheryl and Randall came along to watch. It was midnight, Wednesday. We stood outside Drew Lander's open bedroom window. Maybe we ought to think of another trick, said Cheryl. The lights were out in the house, and we were sure Drew was asleep. But still, no way, said Randall. This is perfect. Perfect. We have to do it. Trust me. Drew can sleep through anything. Once, he fell asleep in math, and they couldn't wake him up. They had to call in the nurse. Cheryl turned to me. If you still want to do it, I'm with you. I smiled and carefully removed the screen, then climbed in through the open window. Drew Lander's room was a mess. I mean, I've seen my room get pretty scary, but this was a pigsty. It was hard to walk without stepping on things that crunched. Drew slept under a mass of covers in his bed. We could hear him snoring more loudly than the roar of the filter on the huge fish aquarium in the corner. Look at this, whispered Randall, pointing to a whole row of swimming trophies on a shelf above the aquarium. Cheryl put her finger to her lips to shut him up. Drew didn't hear a thing. He continued snoring as I very carefully rolled the covers away from his feet. He was wearing dirty socks, moving a fraction of an inch per second. I peeled back the socks until his feet, which smelled a little like chlorine and a little like vinegar, were sticking straight up at me. I reached my hand out to Cheryl, and she handed me the nail polish. A quick pause. Why do his feet smell like chlorine?
Because he swims.
Now that's the easy one. Why do his feet smell like vinegar?
Because they stink.
Because they stink. Vinegar is what you use to make Easter eggs, that really stinky stuff, like eek. So that's what his feet smell like, because apparently he's not real good at cleaning himself. When Drew woke up in the morning, just as we had thought, he didn't change his socks. And 15 hours after we left his house, an incredibly embarrassed Drew Landers had to explain to the entire swim team why his toenails were painted red. Now, for the next one, I have to show you something. I'm not sure if you know. When I was a kid, I thought that being colorblind meant you saw the world in black and white, like you couldn't see color at all. That's not how colorblind works. Colorblind is usually, for 90% of people who are actual colorblind, means you cannot tell the difference between red and green. So for colorblind people, all you see are dots, and they're all the exact same thing. So if you're not colorblind, you should be able to see the different things in there. You're going to see a number, you should see a number, and then you should see a fish. And that way you can tell that you're not completely colorblind. You see the different things. Just messing with you. You should see the number 74. But I wanted to tease you because it's fun. If you're colorblind, if you were to look at my two chairs over there, they would look the same color. If I were like, hey, go sit in the red chair, you're like, they're both red. I'm like, well, sit in the green chair. You're like, are they both green? Because they look identical, like just the color, the broken things in your little eyeballs, the cones show you as the exact same color. And it's not that you can't see them. It's not like, Mr. Brovicast, there's no chairs there. It's just that you see the chairs, they're just the same color, like a kind of like, I don't know, a grayish color or something, but that's how colorblind works, because it pops up in the next story. Eric Kilfoyle, the basketball star, was a sweater. Not the kind you wear, the kind that drips all over the floor during a basketball game. Antiperspirant didn't help his sweating problem very much. But, as Darren told us, Eric would always roll on a sizable helping of antiperspirant under his arms before going out onto the court. The trick that Abby planned turned out to be much more complicated than it sounded, because not only did we have to switch antiperspirant bottles, but we also had to make sure that Eric never saw what he was coating his armpits with. In the end, we had to black out the locker room at the perfect moment just to keep Eric and the rest of the basketball team in the dark as to what was going on. We were all there in the stands when the basketball team came out of the locker room, and in the gym, Darren looked up from the floor and gave us the OK sign. The team wore their warm-ups through the layup drills. Finally, when the game was about to start, the warm-ups came off, revealing the team uniforms. Eric's was already beginning to look sweaty. It was a jump ball, and, of course, Eric jumped. His arm went up, and in the excitement, Nobody noticed Eric's underarms but the referee. The whistle dropped out of his mouth. The other team had possession of the ball, and Eric ran down the court, taking his position as center of the 2-1-2 zone. His arms went up, and that's when everyone else saw it. Fluorescent green sweat under his arms, soaking the sides of his shirt. Well, the captain of the other team dribbled the ball through the defense, then stopped dead when he saw Eric's little problem. "Hey, what's with the armpits, dude?" said the kid at the ball. Now, when somebody says something about your armpits, you have to look. You can't help it, even if you're in the middle of a basketball game. Eric reached under his left arm and came out with a fluorescent green hand. The kid shot a basket over Eric's head to score. Had the joke ended there, we would have been more than satisfied. But it didn't. We didn't count on Eric being colorblind. "I'm bleeding!" called Eric, stumbling around the court, showing everybody his very green hands. "I'm bleeding! I'm bleeding!" The game sort of stopped as everyone tried to figure out if this could be possible. I mean, if it was, Eric must have been an alien. "Help! I'm bleeding! I'm bleeding!" he cried. "Call the nurse!" And everyone was so confused and dumbfounded by this weird turn of events, the nurse was called immediately. The most obnoxious of our tricks was a doubleheader. It involved two kids, and one of them was lost in space. You see, Mr. Milburn, the science teacher, had a collection of animals in his classroom, animals that ranged from gerbils to lizards. Tommy Nichols, the ninth grade's foremost brain, kept his pride and joy in Mr. Milburn's room. Octavia, his beloved pet tarantula, sometime after lunch, Tommy noticed that Octavia was missing. But, try as he might, he could not seem to find her. She was not in her cage. She was not hiding in the bookshelf. It seemed she was nowhere in the room, and nobody could find her. Lost in space found her. Or should I say that she found him? If you don't know what a tarantula is, I'm sorry, but that's a tarantula up there.
Oh, that looks so cute.
I was particularly mad at Austin that day, so I couldn't wait to see the trick pulled off. You see, Austin had called me Gopher so much that everyone had started to call me that too. I couldn't wait to get back at him. Anyway, it was a rainy day, so Austin, as well as everyone else, came to school in a hooded jacket. In homeroom, at the end of the day, everyone put on their coats and waited for the bell to ring. Ralphie Sherman saw it first. "Hey, Austin, there's something in your hood." "Yeah, sure," said Austin, because nobody ever believed a word Ralphie said. "If there was something in my hood, would I do this?" And Austin, thinking himself pretty clever, put his hood on. When he pulled his hood off again, a tarantula was sitting on his head. "Ah!" he screamed, running around the room. "Get it off me! Get it off me! Get it off me!" He wouldn't touch it. The thing was sitting smack on the middle of his head, but he was too grossed out to actually touch it. Well, just like with the snake, everybody in the room, including Mrs. Marlowe, our homeroom teacher, began to scream. Meanwhile, Austin ran around the room with Tommy Nichols running behind him, crying, "Don't hurt her! Don't hurt Octavia! She doesn't bite! She's a good tarantula!" However, when a tarantula is doing push-ups on your scalp, you don't care how good it is, you just want it off. Watching Austin turn white as a ghost was the high point of my day. And then, as if it wasn't bad enough, Octavia got freaked out and tried to climb off. Unfortunately, the easiest way off of Austin's head was down the back of his shirt. Austin fell to the ground, shaking his shirt, but Octavia would not come out. She'd had enough for one day. Austin tore off his shirt, ripping out all the buttons, and Octavia went sailing across the room. When she landed, she wasted no time in racing across the floor for a place to hide. "Don't hurt her!" yelled Tommy Nichols. "She's tame! Really, she's a domesticated spider!" But no one much cared. While most everyone stood on the tables, Octavia scampered around the room between the table legs until she finally met an untimely end under the heel of Richard Ferguson's shoe. Lost in space, sat on the floor in a daze. For once, actually lost in space. Tommy Nichols had collapsed to his knees in tears, mourning his dearly departed spider, and Richard Ferguson threw his shoe into the wastepaper basket, choosing to walk home barefoot. I tried to find a picture of a tarantula attacking. Luckily, it was a GIF. It was even better. That was the only one of their tricks that really bothered me because it involved killing someone's pet. That seems a little on the mean side. I mean, given it's a tarantula, but still, I mean, it's a living creature. Chapter, Celebration at Stonehenge. They're going to be talking about a full Nelson in just a moment. It's a wrestling move, technically an illegal wrestling move. But if you go under both arms and then grab the head, you can break someone's neck doing it. So there's an illegal one to do, but that's the full Nelson they're going to talk about in just a moment. It was the third Friday. Tomorrow we'll find out about how to break someone's neck. Today, just life.